And good
And good
afternoon and
afternoon and
welcome to
welcome to
Straight Talk.
Straight
This
Talk.
is
This
your
is your
live at
live at
5
5
show.
show.
And let me
And
tell you,
let me
today's
tell you,
hot
today's hot
topic, and
topics,
today
and
is
today
going to
is
be
going to be
sizzling. As I
sizzling. As I
promised you
promised you
yesterday, we are going to be
yesterday, we are going
talking
to be
all things
talking all things
politics.
politics.
And we have
And
one
we
of our
have one of
candidates
our
in the
candidates
studio,
in the
and I'm
studio,
very
and
excited
I'm very excited
about just getting down to
about
business.
just
I
getting down to
promised you
business.
guys
I
that I was
promised you
going to
guys
be
that I was going to be
looking for
looking for
everybody's
everybody's
bios or
bios or
their
their
manifestos or whatever it is. I'm
manifestos or
having a
whatever
hard
it is.
time
I'm having
finding
a hard
everybody's, but
time
I really
finding
wanted to
everybody's, but I
share that
really
with you, and
wanted to
I'm
share
looking
that
forward
with
to
you. I'm looking
whatever
forward to
opportunities I
whatever
get
opportunities
on
I get
Tuesdays or
on
whenever to kind
Tuesdays
of
or
share that,
whenever to
because
kind
I
of share
really
that,
think
because I
that
really
you
think
should be
that you should
informed.
be informed.
Listeners, we need to be
Listeners, we
informed.
need to be
Voters need to be
informed.
informed
Voters
before we
need to
make
be
these
informed before we make
decisions, because at
decisions,
the end of the
because
day,
at the end of the
it is our
day, it
country,
is
and
our
we need to be
country, and we
involved
need to be
in the
involved in the
process of
process
choosing
of
who leads our
choosing
country.
who
So
leads
thank
our
you so much for
country.
tuning
So
in
thank
this
you so much for
afternoon.
tuning in this
This is
afternoon.
Catherine
This
Tyson,
is
your
Catherine
host,
Tyson, your
and
host,
welcome,
and
welcome, welcome to the
welcome,
show.
welcome, welcome to the show.
943373700 is the number to
943373700 is the number to
call
call
if at
if
any
at any
time
time
you'd
you'd
like
like
to
to
comment or
comment
ask a
or
question.
ask a question.
It is easier to
It is
build strong
easier to
children
build
than to
strong
prepare
children than to
broken men.
prepare
That is
broken men.
my
That is
motivation
my
for today, because
motivation
I
for
really
today, because
believe
I really believe
education is so important,
education
but
is so
not just the
important, but not
school
just
and the
the
bricks and
school
mortar
and the bricks
education,
and
but
mortar
every single
education, but
thing.
every
And it
single
is
thing.
definitely
And it
easier
is
to build
definitely
strong
easier to
children than
build
to
strong
repair
children
broken
than
men,
to
because when
repair
they're
broken men.
broken,
Because when they're broken,
it is so hard to
it
put
is
them
so
together.
hard to
It is
put them
not a Humpty
together. It's
Dumpty
not a
show for
Humpty
sure,
Dumpty show
right?
for sure,
And I
right?
believe that
And
to
I
my
believe
core.
that to my
And that is
core.
some of the
And
things
that
that
is
we will
some
be
of the
talking
things that
about
we
this
will be talking about
afternoon,
this
amongst
afternoon,
other things,
amongst other
with
things,
the
with
Georgetown
the Georgetown
North
North
candidate,
candidate,
Johan Moss. So we're going to
Johan
say good
Mox. So
afternoon
we're
to
going to
him and
say good
just jump
afternoon to
right
him
in.
and
Good
just jump
afternoon,
right
Moss.
in. Good afternoon, Mox.
Johan, and welcome to the
Johan,
show.
and welcome
Thank you
to
very
the
much,
show.
Catherine. Good afternoon to the listening audience.
Okay, so
Okay,
Johan, I'm
so
going to need you to
Johan,
speak
I'm
into
gonna
that
need you to
mic.
speak into
Hello.
that mic.
Hello,
Better?
hello, hello.
Hello?
Better?
Can you hear me? All right, go ahead again.
All
Let's
right,
try
go
that.
ahead again.
Hello.
Good
Hello.
afternoon, Catherine, and good afternoon to the
Catherine.
listening audience. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Oh,
you so
thank
much
you.
for
Thank you
coming
so
in.
much for coming.
It's been a lot of talk about you running for a while now, for a couple of elections, actually. I think I've heard your name on the circuit for about 2 elections before now. That's correct?
No, I've heard a lot of things, but this is the first time that I felt that I was really in a position where I could um, take the chance to run. Last election, we just had a little one, and nothing was going to distract me from maximizing as much time as I could. It's my first child, and I'll be honest with you, it's the greatest thing to ever happen to me. So I couldn't contemplate anything else other than squeezing every moment out of that opportunity and experience, and I have no regrets about that. But 4 years, 5 years down the road, I think Cayman's in a state now where if we don't, and that includes you, if every right-minded Caymanian doesn't find their voice, their courage, their strength to ask questions, stand up, speak out, and put themselves forward, not just for frontline politics, but for any um, position of national concern and leadership, we are going to lose the magic of Cayman, because there's a Cayman that's being developed where Caymanians are not at the epicenter of that. It would appear that this administration are comfortable with developing a Cayman where Caymanians don't matter, and becoming secondary and third class citizens is all right. And for me, that's unacceptable. I want for my family to be respected. I want them to be valued. I want them to have a chance, and I want that for every Caymanian. And the reason why I can say that is because it's possible. If you look at the total population right now, we're looking at about 62,000 people. 21,000 are on work permits. That leaves you 42,000 people. If the Cayman Islands government can't focus on fixing and helping 42,000 of its own people, their priorities are all wrong, because 42,000 is just a village in other countries.
Right.
So for me, you look at how families are living, paycheck to paycheck, cost of living going through the roof, and over a 4-year period, nothing has been done to address that. That's scary, and it's unconscionable, because when you consider the policy decisions that have been made and the emphasis that the current administration place on growth and making sure that the top end of the scale get looked after, it is unconscionable, And it is clear to me that they do not care or prioritize Caymanians. And I'm not going to live in a country where I am second class or slide into being third class. I don't want that for any Caymanian. This is our home. And if we can't find leadership that will put Caymanians first, none of this makes any sense.
Well, that's interesting that you would say that because you know what? Last time around, when I was a part of the election, when I threw my hat in the ring, I kind of said almost very similar things. And one of those things was where I was launching was across the street from this huge development. And I said, let me tell you something, in 4 years, it may be too late for us to catch up.
Mhm.
And I tell you, I sat back after that election, after being unsuccessful and losing that race. Barbara Connolly actually was the chosen one for Georgetown South. And after that, I looked around the island and I continued to see the hugest developments going up. I saw a couple of them across the street from each other, starting at $800,000 per unit, $1 million
Yeah,
per
that,
unit.
that, not really for us.
And I thought,
Let's
well,
just
it
own
is
that.
absolutely not for us. And then I started to lose the view of the beautiful ocean. And I thought, well, that's definitely not for us. And so we are bombarded by all of these amazing properties going up, taking away our view of what we call home and life. And they're not being prepared for us. And all I could think was, well, who are they being prepared for? Right. And so I am completely in agreement with you when it comes down to looking around and saying, okay, are Caymanians at the heart of decision making? And so eh, trying to give people the benefit of the doubt and not say you don't care about Caymanians, I then want to pull the question back and say, if you cared about Caymanians, have you thought about this that you're doing and how are Caymanians benefiting or how are you hurting Caymanians?
No, that's great analysis, but let's just get down to the brass tacks of it. What you think and what you say, the ultimate barometer of what you mean is the things that you do. And right now, if you ask any Caymanian, working class, middle class, professional grade Caymanian, they're being priced out of the Cayman dream.
Right.
Right now, renting a place is impossible. It's expensive.
Right.
Buying a place is extremely difficult because the market that is being dictated by prices geared towards others ensures that most Caymanians are still living at home with mommy at 30 years old
Right.
because they're trying to save up their deposit, they're trying to save up for their stamp duty in
Right.
order to do that. All I'm saying is you cannot profess to be the world-class financial offshore financial center where everything is great, everything is beautiful. Look at the commercials, and your own people are being left behind. Whether you like the sound of my voice or not, the facts are the facts. There's a Cayman that is being developed by this administration, by the current leadership, that does not involve Caymanians at the core. Again, you look at the cost of living across the board, whether that be utilities, whether that be cost of housing, insurance, healthcare, groceries, utilities, everything is going through the roof. And there are no attempts made to try and help Caymanians. If you are at the lower end of the economic spectrum, if you are living just above or below the poverty line, it is a third world existence.
Right.
And we drive across these roads every day. We build new roads through these neighborhoods, but we've never stopped. The current administration have never stopped to try and help those Caymanians by getting out of a situation that is deplorable, that is
Right.
unfit for human habitation. It is unconscionable that we can have people living in the Cayman Islands in 2021, families where there are houses and structures with no running water, no electricity, no bathroom facilities.
Yeah.
Yet, come election time, every incumbent seems to care. Where were you the last 4 years?
And where are you going to be after you get in? Where are you going to be the next 4 years? Because that's also the question. And so I'm almost convinced that people are enjoying being courted during this time and then being forgotten about, which I think that's a very interesting, just theory alone, but it's obviously, something that's very concerning. So, in saying what you just said, it leads me to ask, in terms of the cost of living, we're talking about cost of living here, right? We're talking about being able to afford, to rent or to purchase or being kind of, priced out. When we talk about minimum wage, for instance, currently say it's $8. I calculate that quite often. I calculate
Yeah, it's
what.
currently $6.
Okay, so I calculate what $6 an hour means, what $8 an hour means, and what $10 an hour means to a 40-hour job,
Mhm.
40-hour a week job. And even if we even say $10 an hour at this point, for 40 hours a week, that is $400 times four is $1,600 a month, and that's before pension and insurance is taken out, health insurance is taken out. How can anyone even live on that when you think about it?
Again, that's a great point that you're making, and it's important that we understand to address the cost of living. It isn't just about raising the minimum wage. There are certain things that need to be done in conjunction or in addition to providing a livable wage. But here's the crazy thing that everyone needs to wake up to. The government, this administration, are happy to keep minimum wage at $6 an hour. However, if you are on the NICE program, you are paid $10 an hour. If you're a supervisor in the NICE program, you get paid $12 an hour. Yet the PPM-led coalition that makes up the Government of National Unity, once McKeever Bush started the NICE program about 8 years, 10 years ago, it was described as vote buying. But apparently, now that they're doing it, they're giving people a hand up. But you mean to tell me the current administration only care about people for 2 weeks and 4 weeks a year? There's still another 52, 48 weeks during the entire year, and they go missing because it's about keeping people, in my opinion, their strategy is to keep people desperate, dumb, and dependent on them so that then when they show up, they are the gods, they are the saviors. And I'll say this, the only savior that I'm aware of is Christ Almighty. So we need to stop looking at these people as anything more than mortals that are using you. They are using you to buy your vote, they're using you to influence your support. But when the rubber meets the road, what are they really doing to help you? Because if the government accept that in the NICE program, the minimum wage, and they're paying $10 an hour, they've been doing this now for 8 years. How have they not had the conscience and the goodwill and the good intention to say, all right, $10 becomes the minimum wage in the Cayman Islands? What are they waiting for? They've had the majority in the House. At one point, they had 13 members on the government side versus 5 members on the opposition side. That's an overwhelming majority. So if you have the majority in Parliament and you still don't see it fit to legislate or pass sufficient laws that will help increase the minimum wage to a livable wage, what exactly, how can we trust them to do the right thing if they couldn't be bothered to do it over the last 4 years? And so that's the difference. I want to work for every Caymanian person, especially those in Georgetown North, because there has to be a fairness and equality about what we're doing. We need to lift people out of this pit of despair where a single mom is going to the grocery store. Let's say she's making minimum wage, she's got to pay rent, she's got to buy groceries, she's got to do all of these things. But the government haven't seen it fit to understand we need to implement strategies and programs to help lower the overall cost of living. This isn't rocket science, and I'm not an economist, but I'm a person with a conscience, and no Caymanian should be left behind. But sadly, under this administration, ask yourself this question: is your life better today than it was 4 years ago? If the answer is no, vote for change.
Right, absolutely. And that just makes things simple, right? In you just telling us a little bit, you just said you're not an economist. Tell us a little about you. What is your background?
Uh, Johan Moxham is a father. Johan Moxham is a regular guy. I'm not special. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm just somebody that cares, and I get it. I'm brave. I speak my mind. I research things before I speak. I think I'm intelligent. I think my CV will say that. I professionally have held senior positions in Class A banks. I was a former managing director of Merrill Lynch Bank and Trust. I worked there for 16, 17 years, and I was the MD for 13 of those years. Currently now a partner at Lainston International Management, a corporate services and directorship firm. I've got a law degree and a master's in law, and I worked in the City of London for Zurich Investments for, my gosh, how long was that? 2 years, 10 months, nearly 3 years. And I came home because paying taxes abroad when you're not making any money is rough.
Right.
So when you come home, the idea is to come home, top up and save some money, because Cayman's tax neutral status is why most expatriates are here. You make a lot of money, you're not paying any taxes on that money, and so your quality of life improves. But really and truly, who I am is I'm a person that cares about my country. I think we live and have the opportunity to be in one of the best countries in the world, but we're losing that. And we're losing that because we don't understand the value of what we have, because a lot of us haven't seen anything else. If you've lived abroad, worked abroad, studied abroad, and you get to come home, you recognize how wonderful Cayman is. And I just want to protect that Cayman for me, my family, and every Caymanian, because I'll tell you this, we have become too passive and too accepting of foolishness. And Caymanians are now starting to rise up. They're starting to get woke. It's important that we stay woke and that we find our strength, find our voice, and latch on to the other people that get it, so that there's an army of us. This isn't about Johan. This isn't about Catherine. This isn't about any one person. This is about Caymanians standing together to do the right thing for other Caymanians, with other Caymanians, so that we take our place in this country where policies are pursued in the best interest of Caymanians. Every Caymanian, whether you've been here 10 minutes or 10 generations, if you're Caymanian, you're Caymanian. This is your home, and you deserve every opportunity, instead of this segregated society that is developed, whereby it's the top tier that matter. And if you're middle class or below, you're on your own. That's not Cayman. The issues that we have can be fixed, but it starts with having a plan. And right now, the administration, their only plan is to serve their masters, who are at the top tier of the food chain. When you look at where Caymanians live, how Caymanians live, and the struggles that Caymanians have on a day-to-day, month-to-month basis, this government don't care about you until it's election time. And you deserve a government and representation that respects you and cares for you. I want to work for the Caymanian people. I have a proven track record where I will fight the fight. I will bring solutions. I will do the right thing. Ask yourself this: if this government can't do the basic things and get that right, how do you give them another 4 years to continue the foolishness where your life will end up worse? Yeah. And that's what it's about. We need to value ourselves, value each other, and say, no mas, no more.
Yeah.
Change starts now, and it starts with me, with how I think. It starts with me, how I vote, and it starts with me as to how I hold people accountable. On April the 14th, the voters are able to hold all of us accountable, but in particular, the incumbents and the people that currently run the country that have let you down and have caused you to slip into a state of despair. You know, mental health issues are real in Cayman. And you know why? It's not because people were born crazy. The pressure is getting to the people. You look at where certain people live and how they live. It's not easy. But are we putting time and energy and resources into helping these people? No. We'd rather show up and try and buy your vote than actually help you out of a desperate situation. And that's we deserve better.
So let me ask you then, and we have quite a bit to get through today. So glad that you joined us in the studio. You're listening to Straight Talk here at Drive at 5 show, and Johan Moxham, who is a candidate for the Georgetown North constituency, is our guest, and that's the voice you've been hearing. Let me ask you, how do you feel about party politics? And along with that question, I'd like you to also talk about how you feel about party politics, but also how do you feel about the end result, the 19 that get in? What would then be the best options, and how are those people supposed to be working together? Because that's always been the struggle now. It's been the struggle since last time. how does everybody work together if they're not all on the same team? Because that's the whole bandwagon thing that we've been
Fair,
sold.
fair question. The government would have you believe that you have to be a part of their team to get anything done. The current administration is a combination of the UDP and the CDP, and your life today is a reflection of the decision of both parties. There is no political ideology that separates the PPM from the CDP. What binds them is their quest for power. What binds them is their thirst for more opportunity for themselves, for their financiers, for their party supporters, and for the people that invested in them, that own and control them. Party politics in Cayman is a joke because neither party stands for anything. For 20 years, we were told that the leader of the CDP, UDP, was unfit, uncouth, a complete disaster, and an embarrassment to this country. Yet, when the leader of the PPM needed those numbers and McKeeva Bush, they got together, they got married, and no matter what happened over the last 4 years, they remained committed to one another, even if there were glaring things that went wrong. I'm going to give you a reason why party politics in Cayman doesn't work. It's because people are desperate to do whatever it takes to keep their job. If I am convicted of anything in my job, in my partnership agreement, I'm no longer a partner. In the Cayman Islands, you can be convicted of any offense. And if you're a parliamentarian, what are the consequences for you? And you know what happened? Both parties decided to protect themselves because it was the politically expedient thing to do. This election is about right and wrong. Life is about right and wrong. And if the parties couldn't do the right thing, and if none of the members of the government could do the right thing to say, hey, big man, you got to go. And here's what we're going to do. We voted to put you in this position. Now we are collectively voting to remove you. That's what right and wrong looks like. But they failed. My opponent failed. They have all done what was necessary for them to survive because that's the game that they're playing. The proof is in the pudding. These guys managed to negotiate and pass a law that gave themselves a 3-month severance package at a minimum of $30,000. Ladies and gentlemen, they couldn't be bothered to raise the minimum wage, but they guaranteed themselves a severance package of $30,000. That's what you have with this crew. Loyalty to self masked by loyalty to the party. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And so I'm not desperate enough to join any sinking ship that doesn't know the difference between right and wrong. Can independents work together? Yes, our history has proven that. This alliance that the PPM have now put together contains independents. So when they tell you you can't trust independents, they can't work together, why are there so many independents in the alliance?
Right.
The hypocrisy is mind-blowing. McKeeva was the devil. He was an embarrassment. Yet when he did something that broke the law, they circled the wagons and they defended him. And they defended him because their silence equaled consent. That is wrong. And it's not about him as an individual. It's about their willingness to do whatever it takes to look after themselves, fatten their pockets, and give themselves a better package. Because again, you don't need to like me, but I'm going to always tell you the truth. They couldn't be bothered to raise the minimum wage, but they gave themselves a $30,000 severance package. Whether they resigned, each, whether they resigned from office or whether they were voted out of office, Caymanians should be insulted that they looked out for themselves and have forgotten about what they're there to do, which is to represent and serve the people of the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, I think that it's all been very shocking. I think the fact that the lines were crossed and everybody crossed over, and like you said, when one side did it, it was this, but then when the other side did it, it was fine. And so crossing over in order to reach your own agenda is obvious in itself, right? And I as a woman am offended about the value that it seems that women were placed in our country. And I've always had that issue. But this now has been blatant. I've had this issue in 2010, this issue in 1994. But for it to be in 2021, you know what I mean? When you think that it's progress, and for the a woman to be valued so little. And that's my piece on that. I think that that to me is an indication of insult to injury, and it's a no-brainer.
Can I get an amen?
That,
Catherine,
hallelujah.
the reality is this: if you are a female voter and you find it in your heart or in your mind to vote for an administration that has clearly demonstrated they have no respect for the rule of law, they don't know the difference between right and wrong, they have no moral or ethical compass, they don't know what right and wrong is, and they're prepared to cover up and remain silent on that sort of behavior, you really have to look in the mirror and ask yourself, who am I? What do I stand for? Because we know what they stand for. Their silence equals consent. My opponent and every single person of the government of national unity, their silence equals consent, and they condoned whatever transpired, and they were doing whatever they needed to do to protect themselves. Wrong is wrong.
Absolutely. So before we go to our break, what makes you the best qualified candidate for Georgetown North?
I will tell you the truth. I know the difference between right and wrong. I have integrity. I've demonstrated that I will always do the right thing and fight the right fight. My professional qualifications and professional experience make me um, a much stronger candidate than the incumbent. I am not doing this because I need a job. I want to work for the people of the Cayman Islands, and I want to put Caymanian people first. We have gone so long without people being able to stand up and say, hey, every Caymanian deserves a chance. I was a part of a group, CPR, greatest thing to ever happen because it was a diverse group of Caymanians working together. You saw what we did. We stopped the port. That's what's capable when Caymanians work together. I think I know the difference of how to make, so I know how to make a difference in the lives of Caymanian people. There's a plan, there's solutions, and more importantly, if you look at the track record of my opponent, what has he done? Is your life better? I know whose life's better, and it's not the average Caymanian. They work for everyone else except Caymanian people. They work for big business. My opponent works for the upper crust developer class that own and control him. Period. I work for no one. I want to work for the Cayman people. I am beholden to no one. I am not bought and paid for. I am an independent candidate that knows the difference between right and wrong, and I will not deflect, I will not hide, I will not run, and I will not blame anybody else. I believe in accountability, transparency, and good governance, and I will consult with the people of Cayman to ensure that I am representing their views because this is our home. I will work for all of us, but am hoping to get the support of the voters of Georgetown North because Cayman deserves better.
And with that, we will take a quick break, but you please do not change that dial. You are listening to Straight Talk Drive at 5, and this is Councilman Tyson, your host, and I am hosting this afternoon Johan Moxham, who is a candidate for the Georgetown North constituency, and we're talking all things Caymanian, and how are we putting our people first and what we need to do come election day. Stay tuned, we'll be back with more. Conversation. The phone lines are now open. 943-3700. And welcome back to Straight Talk. This is your Drive at 5 show. Catherine Tyson, your host, and we are on our Hot Topics Day. We're talking to Johan Moxham, who is the Georgetown candidate for Georgetown North constituency. And we are talking all things right now about the voters and what it is that you should be doing and thinking about come election day. Mr. Moxham talked about a little bit of his background studying at the University of Buckingham, earning a law degree with honors and a Master of Law, and talked about, being a proud father, and having his own business, and also just being a community activist. Let's welcome back Mr. Moxham and just talk some more about some of the things that you have done to kind of, prove that, it's not just lip service that you're playing right now. And when you do get in, what is it that you plan to kind of look into right away?
Well, again, it's weird. Just let me start off by saying, Catherine, you ran, I think it was last election.
Yep.
Anybody that runs, that's a strong person, because this is not easy at all.
I figured out I was stronger than I thought I was.
No, to be honest with you, you are superwoman under the circumstances that you ran. Okay, and kudos to you and every other woman that runs, because the things that are expected of you and what you guys are susceptible to, the average man does not get to experience any of that sort of madness, right?
Right.
So any woman that puts themselves forward, mad respect. You deserve it. Any candidate runs, you have my respect, because this is my first time doing this, and I can tell you it's not an easy job. You have to humble yourself. You have to really understand why you want to do this. And every time I go out into the community, as hard as it is, I look at the Cayman that's developing where Caymanians do not matter. Under this administration, Caymanians do not matter. And it pisses me off, because how do you pretend to care come election time, yet your body of work says otherwise? We don't understand the value of our vote. We don't understand that it takes real courage to get up and put yourself on the front line. And I would hope that everybody who's contemplating a run at politics does so that you can understand where Catherine's coming from. Because when you speak, I hear you better now. I used to listen to you, but now I know. And I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. But, what keeps me going is I want a better Cayman. And I can't live with the thought that I didn't try to make a difference in my country where we don't matter. As an activist, I pick the fights that I know make sense. Being a part of Cruz Port referendum, Cayman, was massive, but in no way, shape, or form will I ever tell anybody I was the leader of that. We were all leaders. It was first amongst equals. There were strong women. There's Katrina Jern, Gabriela Hernandez, Naomi Jonte, Melanie Carmichael, Shirley Rolston, you name it, the Jerry Bravels of this world, Claudia Subiatos, Sharon Hines. I mean, strong women that knew what was at stake, and they basically helped drag their network of concerned citizens into a wave of momentum whereby the government understood this wasn't Johan making noise. Johan broke down some of the major political concerns, and I asked all the real questions, because, ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake, this administration lied to you. They lied to you by telling you the port not gonna cost nothing, we're not gonna have to pay for nothing. Who in the world builds you a $400 million port for free? There is no such thing as a free lunch. Ladies and gentlemen, this administration have proven they can lie about everything, the big things, the small things, so therefore their credibility is shot. But I say all that to say this. What was beautiful was the fact that CPR Cayman was us. Multi-generational, first generation, black, white, green, purple, fat, skinny, tall, short, every type of Caymanian possible. And what bound us all was our collective concern and love for our country, where we would not allow the government to railroad us. We would not allow the government to continue to lie to us. And we recognized that we were the agents of change that we've been waiting for. Instead of waiting for everybody else to show up, why don't you do this? We decided to do it. And from that perspective, that has changed the political game altogether. You
Right.
have people that are running now that know asking questions is good. You're not being foppish, you're not being rude, you're not being, disobedient. You're exercising your democratic right as a citizen of this country to understand why the government makes some very expensive and stupid decisions. $11 million was spent on the cruise port campaign. $11 million. That entire project was based on lies.
Right.
You know what $11 million could do for people that live in subhuman conditions
Well, I know
throughout this
$1
island?
million because I'm a social worker.
No, no,
So
listen.
I can make 11 million out of a million. So I know what $11 million is.
Listen to me.
That's
It's
crazy.
the fact that they would choose to focus in on destroying the environment, on accelerating socioeconomic issues, and then putting the country at risk financially, which would have accelerated some form of implementation of direct taxation. That's a massive reason for you not to trust any of these people, because they were so hell bent on pursuing their project and getting it done that it's only now on the campaign trail that the premier can say, well, the port won't be going through. Mr. Premier, the port isn't going through because the people decided the port wasn't going through. We were successful in reaching and securing a people's initiated referendum. The premier didn't do that. We did that. And yet they made a mockery of all of us. They've challenged us in court. Shirley Ralston is a living, breathing national hero, period, point blank. And everybody in CPR I would ride or die with them anytime, anywhere, any place. Those people are soldiers, and they proved that they will fight for Cayman. And that's what I'm about. I've stood up when I was on the business staffing planning board, and I outed what I felt and saw as unfair, inequitable treatment of applications. Because in Cayman, everybody pays their fees. So how come my applications get jumped up before Catherine's?
Right.
Wrong is wrong. Right is right. This is what I stand
I
for.
always say that. Give me a rule and I live by it. I don't need a favor, because today might not be my day. But if it's a rule, then I know which day is my day.
I want everybody to matter. I want everybody to have the same opportunities. I am no better than anyone. No one is better than me. The system is supposed to work for us all. And right now, the way the government is running the country and their government and their politically appointed boards, the country and the rules work for some people. And what happens is the government are more concerned in spin and lies and rhetoric that they're pushing an agenda. How can you trust a government that will tell you the Smiths Back Air project that they were going to turn that into a parking lot? Make no mistake, you spend $5 million buying the property in 2017, and by 2018, 2019, you're going to turn that into a $2 million parking lot. You know what they're turning into a parking lot for? The cruise lines. But they weren't honest enough to tell us. We had the jump on them and we outed them every single time. Then you would hear the minister say, well, he was not aware of the tender. How can you be the Minister of Planning, Infrastructure and Commerce and secure a exemption from Central Planning Authority approval, but then claim not to know that there was a tender?
Well, it sounds like that's a bigger problem too.
That's straight incompetence. That's
Huge
incompetence,
problem.
lies, or worse. The point is, you cannot spend the people's money. You cannot use your powers to look after everybody else and forget about the people.
Right.
We've got development agreements that are signed now that the government refuse to be made public. That's not their money. That's your money. That's my money. How's my friends? That's we money.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
When you reach the stage where a government can grant hundreds of millions of dollars in concessions and then tell you it's none of your business, they gotta go. Because if it was good for Cayman, if it was right for Cayman, and if it was fair, they'd be proud to tell you about it.
Yeah.
But they can't, because they don't know the difference between right and wrong. They're about the spin. They're not about the substance. And for us, Caymanians have to look themselves in the mirror and go, on April 14th, do I want this same nonsense or do I want change for the better? Change starts with each voter
Right.
because Cayman deserves better.
Right. It's about keeping people in the dark, and then you can, continue to be powerful. When you see people bringing people from out of the woodwork and saying, please, this person's a part of my party. Just vote for them and don't ask any questions. And the person is like has never made a speech publicly, has never done anything community. You know what I mean? To me, it's sickening, right? And it's really it's insulting. It's offensive. At the end of the day, here's what I'm getting from you right now, and I have to say this to you. I love your heart, and you're being very brave, and
I don't know any other way.
and I think, and the reason that I need to point that out is because people do not want to hear the truth, right? But the powers that be do not want you to call out the fact that there's a fear mongering in Cayman, but there is. And so people are afraid. People are afraid of speaking up. People are afraid of speaking out against anyone. And I think at the end of the day, truth is truth. And you should not be mad at somebody because they're telling the truth. If you're not telling the truth, you know that. But at the end of the day, when you use your power to cut people down because of truth, then what makes you not corrupt, or what makes you not a tyrant, or trying to, to be a dictator?
I think that we need a seismic change in how we go about looking for leadership. All of these nice guys that whisper and how's your mama and how you doing? They're the ones that are robbing you blind. They're the ones that are comfortable with you being in a substandard situation. They're the ones that are happy to keep you in secondary and third class sort of situations. I'm not a tyrant. I'm a guy that basically decided what Cayman needs is honest people, honest representation. I am fearless. I have proven that, but I back up being brave with the facts. There's nothing that I speak of that I haven't researched that I cannot confirm. I am the person that will stand up and do the right thing because politics doesn't define me. Being a father, being the best father possible is my primary ambition in this world. Being an amazing partner to an incredible woman is what makes me who I am. I am not trying to be a tyrant. I'm not trying to be the emperor. I am just a guy that knows the difference between right and wrong. And I am eager to help wake up my people so that they can demand those same things for themselves. And collectively, once we reach the crescendo where everybody knows you deserve the truth, and you deserve all the information, and you deserve the opportunity to ask questions of your leadership, because that's how democracy works, then I won't stand out anymore. But right now, I am that wolf, howling, demanding, dragging, because I'm passionate. I'm passionate that I live in a country where there's 42,000 people. And of that 42,000, as a social worker, you can speak to this. There are about 10 to 15,000 people, our people, that live in subhuman conditions.
Absolutely.
That's data. That isn't my waking up and thinking that I can save the world. You have 42,000 Caymanians, okay? Now, whether you're new Caymanian or generational Caymanian, nobody should be living in subhuman conditions.
Right.
We are comfortable to give, the current administration is comfortable to give hundreds of millions of dollars in concessions to their friends, their family members, their financiers, the people that own and control them.
The millionaires.
The millionaires, the billionaires, whatever you want to call it, to them. But you can't find a way to really help 42, and of that 42, pare down and help the 12 to 15,000 Caymanians that desperately need it. And I can speak specifically to Georgetown North, but this is an island-wide issue on all three islands. So what the hell are we doing?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you one thing, just as a social worker. I remember this was maybe 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. I had a friend who was a lawyer, and she was helping me hand out Christmas baskets during that time. And the areas that we were going in, she had no idea existed in Cayman. And I thought that was hilarious because she was like, "Oh my goodness, people live down here. People are here." People, and she couldn't believe it. She was literally brokenhearted. Like at the end of it, and she's like, "This is what you do. This is heartbreaking," because what she was used to is seeing all of the her world, right? The
Hmm.
people that were making all the money, and the socials, and the $150 plate dinners, and the galas and stuff, and she just could not believe it. And I think we went like at Watler's Road, which is in
Yeah,
Georgetown
yeah,
North,
yeah.
where we had some clients. I was down in the east, and you name it, and she just could not believe it. And I thought that was just so ridiculous because that obviously meant, and this was 15, 20 years ago,
Hmm.
that was that great divide. And so from then,
It's
as a
gotten
social
worse.
worker, I'm like, look at this. And so now to really look at how things have progressed since 2017, when I was in that election, is insane. And so there has to be some change. Absolutely. Now I want to ask you, what would be some of your top issues on your agenda, nationally and for your constituency?
I think the national issues impact every constituency. If you're in Georgetown North, there's a large segment of Georgetown North where cost of living is a massive issue. Um, at the end of the day, the solutions that I think of, we've got to get the agencies and governments to do their job. Ofreg is not doing their job. When the licensee is able to direct to the regulator what they are going to do, that is the tail wagging the dog. It's not supposed to work like that. Okay? If you are in a position where you are responsible for the implementation of the national energy policy and you willfully neglect to do so, and that national energy policy has the ability to help people and the cost of living in the production and provision of um, electrical services, they got to go because everybody's held accountable. The politician responsible for that should be held accountable, and the individuals in the regulatory agency should be held accountable, right? When you consider the fact that basic food items seem to be on the increase, right? We have to understand that there's a box of items that are duty free. Are those discounts being passed or handed down to the consumer? If it is not, we need to address that. We need to review the entire Cayman Islands tariff laws of what we charge duty on. Obviously, if you can give hundreds of millions of dollars away to the uber wealthy, if they're going to bring in their car, they can't be paying 22% the way that I'm paying 22% or whatever the number is. I'm just saying that there are strategies to be deployed where we can address that. There are significant environmental concerns, and I'm not just talking flora and fauna. I'm talking about the sea, the marine life. I'm talking about air quality. I'm talking about quality of life issues. And right now, we need to understand Cayman is just building for somebody else, but not for Caymanians. We need a national environmental management framework policy that involves all stakeholders so that there's a conversation on how do we want this country to grow? What do we want it to look like? We need to preserve and protect more land for future generations. One idea to help the housing crisis is the government obviously can give away money because they're again granting concessions out the wazoo. Why aren't we buying tracts of land in each district whereby the government can then put in the roads? I'm talking quality land. And then you develop a master plan sort of environment or township where that land and those houses are solely for Caymanians, not for foreign investors to make a killing on by investing in the property, but I'm talking about for everybody to have an opportunity to buy. I'm talking about a mixed use community whereby Caymanians will get to feel that they belong. And I'm not saying that it's a low cost housing. I'm talking about something that we can all be proud of, but that the population and the environment is that of inclusion, whereby every type of Caymanian is living in these communities. Because what has happened now, we've gotten accustomed to the segregation where only certain people matter. Every Caymanian matters. No Caymanian must be left behind. We need to basically also address why we have no qualms in allowing developments to go everywhere. We need to slow down development on the coastlines and implement strong laws and regulations to protect our coastal lines, addressing the setbacks. We're reaching a stage now where people are able to tell you, you can't walk on my beach. Excuse me?
Right.
Excuse me?
Yeah, that's insane. There's a lot of insane things going on.
There's a lot of insane things going on because you got to understand the government that is elected right now don't represent you. They represent them. I want to work for you. There's a lot of us that want to do the right thing.
Well, it's a job that you're applying for, you know. You're applying for a job to work for the people. And that's the point. So 19 people that will be chosen are working for people, right? And that's the point. They're not working for themselves.
No.
They're not working for decisions that they're making as a group and you know, some ad hoc thing, right? We're actually working for the people, and the people meaning every single one of them. And so what we're talking about right now are some people that are being forgotten, and there's a major, forgotten kind of group of people, and it seems like they're Caymanians.
I want to work for every type of Caymanian. Rich Caymanian, wealthy Caymanian, middle class Caymanian, working class Caymanian, poor Caymanian. You know why? This is our home and we're all Caymanian. I do not believe that we should continue the sort of mindset where, well, Catherine matters, but Johan doesn't.
Right.
And right now, that is as prevalent as anything that I've ever seen. We have to get to the stage whereby in this race to 100,000 population, has anybody in this government asked you your views of the type of Cayman you want to live in? If we can't get it right for 60,000 Caymanians, for a population of 60,000 or a total population of 42,000 Caymanians, how in the world are we going to get it right for 100,000?
Yeah.
We don't have the basics in place right now. Education is not truly a priority.
Well, let's talk about education.
Let's go.
Let's talk about education. What are your thoughts on the current state of education?
I think there are some excellent teachers. I think some people are working really, really hard, but at a national level, the proof is in the pudding. If you see the results and you're seeing where 70% are below the acceptable standard,
right,
that is the basis upon which you can say education is not working.
Well, it's unacceptable.
Where's the accountability?
So it's been raised 5% since 2007.
Well,
because it was 25% in 2007. So
right.
So 5% more. That's insane, because, and that's the point. When you look at a group of 200 students, and 25 of them or 50 of them are going to be okay, and 150 are not. Who's concerned about the 150? Who's concerned about the majority? And so that feeds the issue that we have to import employment. We have to import labor. But what are we doing to ensure that the people with one passport, because I talk about that a lot, right? That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
with
100%.
one passport.
We're on the same page.
So where is that person's option? This is their option. So how are we preparing them in order for them to sustain themselves?
Fair comment. I'd say to you, Cayman's going through a building construction boom, right? Development is now the second pillar of the economy. Yet, we are not really pushing to help Caymanians engage and participate in that sector by providing adequate training and development for those people to acquire the skills and then own their own businesses. Why is it we import everybody else from abroad? They benefit from everything, and then you turn around and hear, well, Caymanians can't do it. Every Caymanian can do it. We just need to be given the training, we need to be given the opportunities, and then we need to be given the employment to participate. The fact that we buy into the myth that all Caymanians are not ready. Yes, there are some that let us down, but are you telling me that everybody in a work permit is a Rhodes Scholar or some type of savior? There are people that come here and they're given a chance, yet your own were not given a chance. And that's a problem, because if a Caymanian can't be a priority in the Cayman Islands, what's the point of all of this?
Right, absolutely.
Right? You know, when I talk about education, I'm talking about if the government can spend hundreds of millions of dollars or give away hundreds of millions of dollars in concessions, we must be able to provide free quality education for all Caymanians. We must be able to reintroduce free sixth forms at all public schools and also subsidize and provide scholarships at UCCI and ICCI. We should be able to provide scholarships for all teachers, teachers' aides, all of the specialist skills that come along with that. And education isn't just about your grades. There are people with learning disabilities. Do the schools have the support services in the form of an educational psychologist, a
Right.
behavioral psychologist? Have we tested kids to understand what their needs are?
Right.
I'm going to show you what's really embarrassing. Just as a corollary, you go and you find out how many people in NAU are in really bad shape. They can't give you that data. I never asked for the names, I asked how many people are in really, really bad shape.
And they have the data.
Of course they have the data.
Right.
But if you don't collect it and put it in a format, you can't be held accountable. So what's happening is we're shooting in the dark, and we're hopefully ignoring the fact that Caymanians are in second class status, third class status, and more Caymanians are slipping below the poverty line every day.
Right.
Yet, when we talk about the success, we talk about the commercial success of the GDP, we talk about, the development boom, but what about the socio-economic issues that are impacting the people? If you aren't looking after your people, you have failed. And if your people cannot participate in the success by opportunities, you have failed them and you deserve to be gone. But thankfully, April the 14th, every Caymanian gets to hold the leadership accountable. And on April the 14th, if you think that your life is good now, that's fine. Knock yourself out. Vote how you vote. But if you know on April 14th that your life is worse off today than it was 4 years ago, and you know that change must come because better must come, it's really simple. Vote for change, because that's what people power is all about. And I hope to represent the people of Georgetown North because I'm the better candidate. And I get it, and I will work hard every single day for each of you because no Caymanian should be left behind.
Right. How are we going to address? I know we've gone over a little bit here, and I want to give you that time.
You're going to be in trouble.
How are we able to? Yeah, I know. How are we able to address unemployment or underemployment? Have you thought about that? I know you're not sleeping. You have to be thinking about all these things. These are all major things that affect all of us. Because I truly believe I work with unemployment. I work with training a lot.
Listen, more to success stuff to you.
As
Listen,
well as the WORC. I've been doing this for many, many years. How do we work with them?
Okay, let me show you. COVID gave us an opportunity, and the current administration not really interested in maximizing or using that opportunity. There were permits being issued still during COVID when there are maybe 1,000 Caymanians, 2,000 Caymanians out of work in the tourism sector. You mean to tell me that we couldn't try to retrain, upskill, develop Caymanians to take some of these jobs? I'm not saying every Caymanian would do it, but at the end of the day, we didn't even try because we're slaves to the work permit revenue, because getting a work permit in the Cayman Islands is too easy. What we should be doing is focusing in on what jobs can Caymanians do right now? What jobs can Caymanians do once we put them in the right training program 2 years from now? And we make sure that we've developed our workforce and we train them, and we do it for free. We don't charge any Caymanian anything.
Right.
Come.
Right.
Come. We will put the time and energy into you so that you can participate in this miracle. Underemployment is real.
It is. It really is.
The boards have a responsibility to ask questions about interview notes for all Caymanian applicants, because right now the friend of a friend gets a job. What happened to the Caymanians in the business?
Right.
I am pro Caymanian. I make no bones about that. But again, it's about having clear, transparent processes whereby the Caymanian applicant knows where they stand, and that there's a reporting, an annual reporting sort of exercise that is done. This thing where Caymanians are overqualified for a position, every Caymanian needs a job right now.
Right.
Every Caymanian needs a job right now, and the government should stop trying to buy their votes by giving them a subsidy. The government should try everything possible to get them back into gainful employment, because that is what every Caymanian wants: the ability to be independent, the ability to be self-reliant, and the pride that comes with having a job. But right now, what we're doing, we're looking out for everybody else. Every permit gets granted, How many permits get turned down? How many people go through Passport for Success that get a real opportunity?
Right.
So what's the point of all of this? It's window dressing. Let's have real programs. Let's have real metrics and data that we use to make decisions with. Because right now, we make decisions in a vacuum based on feeling or based on what somebody special wants. What about what we want and what we need as Caymanians? If you do not elect a government that is working for you, there will be nothing in this country left for you and your children. That's the reality of it. And all I'm saying is to the listeners, on April 14th, the opportunity is yours. Is your life better today in 2021 than it was 4 years ago? Are you being given the opportunities, and are you a priority for your representative and for this government? If you know in your heart of hearts they're not checking for you and they basically only show up to try and influence your vote come election time, vote for the other candidate. Vote for change. Vote for the better candidate. To the people of Georgetown North, I am that better candidate because I want to work for you, each and every one of you, every day. You deserve better. Give me a chance to show you that I am better, because my track record and my experience and my CV and everything about my life has proven I am a leader. I've been leading. I will lead. And I'm a much stronger candidate than the incumbent. If this was a job and you had to hire somebody and you're the HR manager, look at what they've done. Look at what they're about. Look at their qualifications. Look at their ability to know the difference between right and wrong and to tell you the truth. There's only one person in this race that can do that, and that person is Renard Johan Moxham. And I'm asking for your support because I know I can do better, and I know Cayman deserves better.
And there you have it. Thank you all so much for tuning in this afternoon. We did go over, a little bit, but you know what? I think the message was very important and clear. I would love to have the opportunity to chat with all of the candidates so that the listeners can really hear and they can start doing their research and they can start paying attention and make the decisions that are right. I think it's important for all of us. It's our country, and we're going to be the beneficiaries one way or the other. So thank you so much, Johan, for joining me this afternoon, and for putting yourself out there for sure. That's not an easy thing. I was out there. I know how that is. So I really appreciate you coming over to Straight Talk and sharing with the listeners. Thank you all so much once again. We shall chat again tomorrow when you tune in for Wellness Wednesdays. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Okay, I can go pick up my kid. I never know what it was like